Hello, how are you? Well, today is still, I think, the last day of the Feast of Trumpets. And of course, every year I am waiting for this day. I'm looking forward to this day because I know that Jesus will come on the Feast of Trumpets to pick us up. We don't know what day it is. We know that or what year it is. We don't even know the day because, of course, actually we can kind of assume it's the last trump, which will be at the end. The last trump, of course, of the 100 trumpets that are being blown on the Feast of Trumpet. So it should be coming at the end of the feast. And so we still have a little bitty time here. I don't know where time starts, if it is most likely probably at Jerusalem. So, well, who knows? It could be still happening. If not, people every year, this is just a preparing or it's like a dress rehearsal every year for the real thing. And again, since we don't know when the real thing is, hey, if it doesn't come this year, we'll have to wait another year. However, if we die between now and next year, the rapture will happen whenever we are dying. So, and the reason why I believe that is because I believe the time when we're dying, time stops. We're going into a different dimension. Our body will stay here, but our spirit, our soul goes into heaven. And I don't believe there is really time in heaven as we know it. Okay, as we know it. It's a lot slower if there's any time at all. It's a lot slower. Because we know that one day with God is like 1,000 years here and in this world. So yeah, it'll be a lot slower. But it's like closing our eyes and at the same time opening our eyes again. We will be standing before Jesus anyways. So it doesn't matter. It's just kind of exciting to hope that he would be coming every year. Why? Because this world is really, really, should I say, going down the drain in various areas. I'm always looking for signs that maybe Jesus is coming very, very soon. And there are many signs. I'm going to talk about maybe one sign today. It's up to you how to interpret it. I don't believe in interpreting the Bible, but we can evaluate the signs of the times and think about it, how they apply to maybe the end times. I watched a video, one of Glenn Beck's videos. I watch him once in a while. Don't follow him necessarily, but I watch some of his videos. Actually, at the topics, I look at the topics and see what he's talking about. And I saw one of his videos just recently, actually the last one. Did Pope Francis activate end times prophecy? And he had Taylor Marshall on the interview. He was interviewing Taylor Marshall. Now, Taylor Marshall is a doctor of, I think he said philosophy. I was thinking maybe theology, but he is not. And I have watched several of his videos pertaining, for instance, Fatima's, prophecy. And I think this is how I found him. And so I watched him once in a while, and I know he's a very strict Catholic, and he is a Mary worshiper. Okay, that should tell you quite a lot. Mary worshiper. So, yeah, I was attracted to this interview, especially with Taylor Marshall, because I wanted to get to know more about him. And so I listened to the video. It was kind of upset from the beginning. And I want to kind of share these things that I just totally, of course, disagree with him. He's a Catholic. He is actually a very strict Catholic who wants to go back to the traditional things of Catholicism. He believes that since the 60s, Catholicism was, or the improvements, or should I say the changes since the 60s were not so good. And of course, the corruption, has been really bad in the Catholic Church, and he doesn't agree with that. But then again, the corruption has been really bad in the Catholic Church all the time. I mean, you can go as far back as you want. I have mentioned here a book by Charles Giniqui, 50 Years in the Roman Church. And he wrote it even during Abraham Lincoln's time. So we know the Roman Catholic Church, and I know being Roman, or I was a Roman Catholic. I was raised Roman Catholic and in Germany, and I know a lot of the history of the Roman Catholic Church. No, lots of corruption. So I watched the video, and of course he started right away. Oh my goodness, he wants to go back to Latin Mass. Now, why in the world would somebody want to go back to Latin Mass? I wished Glenn would have asked him, why Latin Mass? Okay, a Mass. Why? Number one, Mass is occult. It's built on occult practices. It's not even by the Bible. But I'm not even going to talk about that, how unbiblical Mass is in itself, if you want to research that. But why in the heck Latin? Because it has nothing to do with biblical or the Bible. The Bible was written in Greek and Aramaic. Go back to those languages if you really please, but that doesn't make sense because you want people to understand what the Bible says and not hide it. And most people don't know Latin, so why do Latin? Okay, do you force all believers, to learn Latin, which, no, nobody ever did, at least not when I was raised. So why Latin? You don't understand it. Again, is that something that's important because we want to hide the truth and we don't want people to know what they're actually saying? Don't know. But anyways, that was just one thing that already set me off. I'm thinking, why? See, if this guy is so strict Catholic that he has to go back to Latin, he is a really devout Catholic. And in the middle or through the process, going through this interview, you could tell that he is. The second one that really, and unfortunately, I think maybe that wasn't Glenn Beck's goal to correct. He corrected him in many areas. Later on, I will talk about some. But these two areas he couldn't. Because Glenn Beck is maybe a Protestant, but he is not that Bible, doesn't have that much Bible knowledge, I guess. Anyways, the second point that he made that I just whoa, tried to scream, or really wanted to turn off the video, is this, oh, he used that. Oh, there's only one church. Okay? Now, people, if you are Catholic, this is something you know. If you're not Catholic, you should know this. Okay? This is very important to know, that the Catholics believe there's only one church, and that is the Catholic Church. They believe that the Catholic Church is the only true church. Why? Because they misinterpret the phrase when Jesus says, "On this rock I will build my church," which, if you look at the original text, you will find out that that's not what Jesus talked about. Yes, he was talking to Peter, and he says, yes, you are Peter. Peter or Petros, what is it? What's the Greek word? I think it's a Greek or American. Petro. Well, Peter anyways in the Greek means rock. Okay? But if you look at the original word, it's a different word than when Jesus says, "And I will build my church on this rock." So there's two rocks he was addressing. A little rock, which was Peter, and the big rock, which is Jesus, a different rock. Now, how in the world do I know, okay, that God or Jesus did not build his church on Peter? Okay, why? Because a building is built on a cornerstone, okay, a rock, a cornerstone. Every rock in those days, well, big ones, were carved out of rocks, okay? And Jesus is the cornerstone, okay? You can research that in the Bible. You can put in there Jesus the cornerstone, and you will find verses that show you that. There's many verses in the Bible, even the Old Testament, that shows that he is the what is this, that the stone that the builders rejected became the chief cornerstone. There's many Bible verses that tells you that Jesus built the church on him. He is the head of the church, not Peter. Peter did not become the head of the church. Yes, he was a leader in the church, but he was not the head. He was just part of the church like everybody else. He was the body, part of the body. The head of the church is always Christ or the Holy Spirit, who is the representative of Christ. And that's something we need to know. If we study the Bible, we need to know that. So when somebody comes and says, "Oh, the church is built on Peter," no, that is not true. Now, how in the world Peter never ended up being a pastor in the Church of Rome? Now, they do say that he did. He died in Rome. That's what they say. But that's just tradition. That's not ever proven. There is somebody, I think the first pastor in Rome was Clement. Clement was a disciple of Peter. But we don't know that Peter ever was a pastor or a bishop in Rome. So this is all wrong. Peter is not the cornerstone or the foundation or even the cornerstone of the church or the head. He is only maybe he was a leader, very important leader. I'm not denying that. I'm not denying he was doing a lot of wonderful things for the Lord. And so that's definitely not deniable. But he definitely was not, the church was not built on it. And even if the church was built on it, you cannot make a claim that, so because the church was built on.
It is not the end all be all.
Sorry.
And it is made the end all be all goal of apparently what.
That was my little kitty. So anyways, that's something that we need to understand. Church is built on Jesus, nobody else. And every church is independent and only has Jesus as head. So the Pope is really built on something else. Now, if we go back, I have talked about that before, where the Pope comes from is actually from the emperors. The emperors used to be the Pope of the religious system. Pope, Papa of the religious system. So every emperor was Pope. When Constantine started the Roman Catholic Church, he united all the churches. He became Pope. And when the Roman Empire fell, that name or the Bishop of Rome kept that name. That's the way it went traditionally, and no other way. And Constantine was not supposed to unite all the churches and call them Roman Catholic Church. No. Okay? That's not the way it was supposed to go. He forced the churches, or maybe the churches were willing to do it because they were persecuted before that. But anyways, that's the second one. So it really rubbed me the wrong way, and I had a hard time to even continue to listen to this conversation. Then, oh my goodness, it got worse. Now, Glenn got a little bit better in defending some of the things, especially with the second point. The second point they argued over, or the third point, sorry. They argued over whether the church should control or have control over the government. So the very basis of our federation and our what are they? Amendments is the division of state and church. It's something that our founding fathers believed very strongly, and they believed very strongly because of what happened in Europe. Okay? Now, what happened in Europe? In Europe, now if you are not familiar with that history, but until 1500, the Pope ruled, well, actually, except, of course, the Church of England, because the Church of England broke away from the Catholic Church a little earlier than the other European countries. But until 1500, the European countries were all under the control, I'm going to say control, of the Pope. Yeah, they were rulers, they were worldly rulers, political rulers, but ultimately the Pope actually had control over what happened even in politics. And this is because the Pope believes that he is the representative of Jesus in this world. And that's exactly also what this Taylor Marshall believes. Final decision-making is the Pope's. Because supposedly, he is whatever. The vicar of Christ, really. The replacement of Christ. So that's what he believes, and that's what he is actually, should I say, pushing for? That's what he's working at. This is what he is, striving towards. Because, see, there's only one church, according to him. And so, according to him, all the other ones need to again be united under the Catholic Church, which is already happening, people. It's already happening. And the final authority should be in the hands of the Pope. Now, we're hearing all the time about end times. There's supposed to be one world religion. And I'll tell you, the one world religion that they're planning is under the Pope. Nobody else. Okay? Under the Pope. He was also talking about the Pope trying to go to Russia to start a revival there. Okay? Because of all the Fatima and all the other prophecies, it's important that Russia becomes Catholic. And of course, that has been going on for a long time. That's why we had 2 wars, world wars, World War I and World War II, because that took away what? The power of the Tsar, who was the head of the Orthodox Church, not the Pope, but the Tsar. So definitely the Pope didn't like that. That was one of the reasons really why the Russian Revolution, and then leading to World War I, where lots of people fell, like the Kaiser, the German Kaiser, who was Protestant. And then World War II, where that process continued. Destabilization of Europe and also, of course, the religious system. Now, we went for this destabilization first, had its goal for people to fall away from the religion. For instance, in Russia, people were forced not to believe in God anymore. Okay, very few. Right now, there's a vacuum. People are not Orthodox. Very few people are Orthodox. So now we have people that have nothing for what? How many generations now? Since 1900 and something, since the Russian Revolution. So now in this vacuum, it's very easy. There is still a stronghold of the Orthodox Church in Russia, but it's weakened. And so, yeah, the Pope can go in there and start some kind of Reformation or whatever you want to call it, or start people to go back to the Catholic Church. And the same thing is the case in all other countries. Now, you may think, the United States, we're too strongly based into Protestantism. But people, since the founding, more and more Catholics came to this country and purposely came to this country to make it more Catholic. And what's the goal of Catholics? Have a lot of children. And this is exactly what's been going on for a long time. And we see that in that book from Charles Chiniquy very well. Charles Chiniquy himself came from Canada to establish, Illinois or some other state, a colony there. So Catholics purposely established colonies, Catholic colonies, in the United States to take over the United States, to infiltrate first into financial system. Now, they all did that in secret, okay? All did that in secret, and they were talking about that very clearly. Actually, Taylor talked about that, Marshall talked about that very clearly, okay? How he believes that Catholics should infiltrate or go into in the public arena. and of course use their Catholic whatever identity, beliefs to transform that area that they are moving into, whether it be education. Like we know that a lot of our universities are in the hands of Catholics. Politics, what do we have today? Our president today is a Catholic, Biden. It doesn't matter if he acts non-Catholic. It doesn't matter. Okay? What matters is that he believes he's a Catholic, and if he believes he's a Catholic and he's a devout Catholic, he bows to the Pope and believes the Pope is the ultimate authority. And that's all that counts. And that's what all these Catholics in politics believe. They still believe that the Pope is the ultimate. And therefore, their idea is that we have a Catholic nation. In other words, the more Catholics they push into the public arena, the more we become actually Catholics, the more Catholicism can take over in this country. And I think we're pretty far into it. Okay, since, again, this Charles Chiniquy in 1800, during Abraham's time, he clearly stated that's what they're doing. Okay, infiltrating in everything. Okay, I believe behind our Federal Reserve is the Vatican. Okay, there's no doubt that these people also either are Catholic or are working for Catholicism, for the Vatican. And so many times I say the Jesuits. Okay, because the Jesuits are the military, should I say military? Because they are military force. There's a lot of Jesuit, of course, leaders in various educational institutions or in politics, wherever. So this is what's been going on. And here is this book that I was constantly recommending, or have been recommending many times. 50 Years in the Church of Rome, that's the title. Conversion of a Priest, Charles Chiniquy. I want you to see the Charles Chiniquy. I'll put it a reference on the bottom. But I thought that was extremely helpful. There's other books that you can find about the history, how from the beginning the Roman Catholic Church tried to really take over the United States, and the really founding fathers tried very hard to keep that from happening. Why? Because the Roman Catholic Church believes they are the only church. They believe they are, again, built on this Peter, okay? And I know maybe a lot of Protestants don't know that. And Beck didn't, or else he would have told him, hey, wait a minute, no, that's not what it means. And maybe they would have some Bible study. So, but that's what Catholics believe, and maybe they never even checked it out. You think this Taylor Marshall checked out even the things about the Mass? You know, that the Mass is built on non-biblical things. They believe that, you know, the wine actually transforms into the blood and the bread into the flesh of Jesus. So really, they are practicing cannibalism. Yeah, I'm going to say it. But what really came out very clearly is this wish to take over the government. Not necessarily government, but the government being influenced by the religious system. And that's exactly what we had in Europe. And he didn't talk about that, oh, it was so good in Europe. Oh yeah, they had freedom to practice. No, they did not have freedom to practice their religion. Okay, this is exactly what he danced around. No, you don't have freedom eventually to practice your religion anymore. Because that's exactly what happened before the Reformation. And then they talked about Luther, how horrible Luther was for burning Aquinas books. What was his first name? Don't remember. Thomas Aquinas books. Well, I'm sure he didn't go out there and find every Aquinas book and burn it. Okay? He probably had his own books that he read by this guy, and he burned his books as a statement, hey, I'm not going to put myself under this Catholic Church anymore. Demonstration. I am not going to be under Catholic Church, because Thomas Aquinas, of course, laid a very good foundation. Augustine also, for the Catholic Church. Church fathers. Roman Catholic Church father. Not church father of the real church. Those church fathers are the apostles. But nevertheless, they talked about these things. And yeah, it ruffled my feathers pretty bad. And matter of fact, I'm still not finished. Still have 15 minutes that I have to listen to, if I even going to do it. It was enough for me to see what these people had in mind, especially these, should I say, radical? I don't know what they call them. I forgot it. I totally forgot what they're called. But yeah, traditionalists. Is it radical traditionalists? I don't remember. Something rad. I think so. Traditional. Yeah, radical traditionalists. I see it right here. Radical traditionalists. Oh, it's good to know about that. But what is their goal? Their goal is not only to go back to traditional Catholicism, but really also the traditional position the Catholic Church had in the world system, which was the system that we had before the Reformation. Now, do you want to go back to the Reformation? Oh, that's what I wanted to talk about, the Inquisition, where everybody who was not Catholic or believed something different than Catholicism was killed, was considered heretic. Is it heretic? Considered heresy? I thought it was pretty interesting. Matter of fact, I'm just looking right here at Shay Dyer, who talks a lot sometimes about Catholicism, and he just did a video called Roman Catholic History, the Papacy Critiqued. Ukraine Schism Explained. I should be maybe listening to him. He has some pretty good stuff as well. But anyways, yeah, just wanted to let you know that if you would like to learn more about Catholicism and also how he stands, Catholicism really stands towards our federalism, okay? Our Constitution, this is the word that I was looking for, Constitution. He does not believe in our Constitution. Our Constitution is opposed to papacy, and Chiniquy brought that out as well. Now, this book is a huge, thick book, and there's a lot of boring stuff in it, but it's worth getting through it, really 300, chapter 59, he gets to the meat, well, later on, before that already. But most half of the book is like really about the Roman Catholic Church and the corruption. And of course, Charles Chiniquy's journey, and also him meeting, of course, Abraham Lincoln, because he was his lawyer. And then later on, he gets into the meat of the things, like 46, I think, is already. Yeah, I think we should be reading this book if you want to know about history. There is more threat, okay, and of course they were saying, is that part of the end times? Well, I think it is part of the end times. People need to realize that this country has been taken over Catholicism, or the Catholic. Yeah, they're not as open, and Marshall, this Taylor Marshall, didn't come quite out and said that, but this is their goal. And they're making it really bad now. See, this is another goal. If you read this Charles Chiniquy, infiltrate the Protestant educational institutions, or even media, destroy our moral fiber. And so once it's destroyed, we can build on there like, oh, we need a savior to step in and make it better. And that's going to be the Roman Catholic Church, because the Protestants screwed it all up. But I'm coming to an end. I hope you understand the danger of wanting to combine state and religion. Our founding fathers knew why, because they experienced it in Europe, how terrible it is, how terrible the persecution was when one church takes over, and the Catholic Church did, and that's why, or the Church of England, it doesn't matter. For that matter, the Church of England was not anything different than what the Catholic Church did. So it doesn't matter. If one religion thinks that they are better than everybody else, then it'll be terrible. The only person that gives freedom is Jesus. And Jesus gives us freedom and choice. And the only thing we need to go by is the Bible. If people are not going by the Bible, there is nothing anybody can do. We cannot force people. We shouldn't force people. We can lead the horse to water, but we cannot make it eat or drink. That's the way it is. And we can't force somebody to become whatever religion we want. And make no mistakes, Catholicism is built on paganism. It's Babylon the Great, and I'm going to finish up with that. If you're not familiar with my videos, that's what I can only tell you at the end. Watch some of my videos. For instance, some of my videos about the Antichrist. That's why I show clearly that the Vatican is Babylon the Great. And then go to Revelation 17 and 18 and read about Babylon the Great. We do not want to be part of Babylon the Great. Coming to an end, let the Holy Spirit guide you.